What's up? How you doing? Here we are. Beautiful day today. We're in Orlando, Florida. We've been here for a bit. Yesterday we went to Epcot Center, and very nice, very nice. Did a lot of walking. It's a big place, big place. So today we're gonna go into I guess it's called the Magic Kingdom, and do some exploring there. Golf course on that side. I think they got a golf cart and just drive around. It's almost like a go-kart, but if it rains, you have a little protection up from the top. Yeah, they have very, very, very nice restaurants in Disney World. We are Disneyland people. We've been there, I don't know, over 100 times throughout the years, and this is my second time in Disney World. So I came here first time 1984. And now in 2025, I'm back. So back then I was in my prime, and now I'm past my prime. And, now I prefer doing the restaurant thing. I'm not, I do the rides, but not as fascinated with the rides as I was when I came here the first time. When I came here the first time, I didn't care much about the restaurants. I cared about the rides. Now it's the other way around. And eventually I'll probably, be one of those guys on a scooter. Those those electric little scooters they have. I don't need it yet, but you never know down the line. But today is cooler. Yesterday was nice and warm. Today is cooler, which is comfortable and brisk. Has a little bit of that brisk, flavor in the air. And then a few days ago, we're down in Miami. Miami is awesome. Very beautiful down there. Very beautiful. Like to go into the Bermuda Triangle, but don't think I believe in the Bermuda Triangle. Big nonsense thing. If you take an area, same, coverage as the Bermuda Triangle anywhere in the world, you will find a bunch of tragedies. You'll find shipwrecks. You'll find planes going down. Nothing to do with the Bermuda Triangle. And, I read a long time ago that a lot of crashes that they talk about happening at the Bermuda Triangle actually happened somewhere else in the world, but they wanted to build a legend up, so they kept saying, yeah, that happened in the Bermuda Triangle, but it didn't. Bermuda Triangle is just another hoax. All these things, psychics, Bermuda Triangle, all that stuff, they always have a logical explanation, always. Don't be fooled by that. It's human inventions for the most part, for the whole part. And met somebody interesting to me down here. I was sitting there by myself waiting for my daughter to get off a ride, and some guy said, oh, is this, this spot available? There was a spot next to me. I was sitting on a block. And I said, yeah, it's available. And then somehow the conversation jumped around, and I said, I'm a big fan of Lee Majors. And he said, oh, funny you should say that. He goes, I knew Lee Majors. Said he went to college with him, and I think he said that they were in the same dorm. Although Lee was a little bit older, this guy was in the same year, the same time that Lee was there. I say Lee like I know him. I don't know. I'd like to meet him though, because as I said to this guy, I was a huge fan, I still am, of the $6 Million Man. And when I was a kid, I was at the 1% of 1% of fans. That's how big of a fan I was. I ran like that. You know, how much of a fan you have to be to run like that in public. You know, and I thought people watching me were like, look at that kid run. He's going really fast. And I was doing that slow motion. I'm sure there were others, but we were all at that 1% of 1% of fanhood. So I told him, you know, I was a big fan. He said he knew him, and he even knew Farrah. Find that name funny. Farrah Fawcett. Farrah Fawcett. You know, who has a name Fawcett at the end? I don't know. There might be a lot of people, I just don't know. It's like faucet, Farrah, you know, sink, Farrah toilet, Farrah bathtub. I actually went to the funeral of Farrah Fawcett's. I have a video up many years ago I posted. It's still up. Not inside, I was on the outside. I was not that well known to be, you know, called inside, come inside and join us. No, I was on the other side of the street, but I was there. Anyway, this guy, very nice guy. Very nice guy from Kentucky. And I've been in Kentucky. Muhammad Ali from Kentucky. My father, big Muhammad Ali fan. Big, you know. I liked him too, but my father was a little bit above when it came to being a fan of Muhammad Ali. I watched all those guys back then, but, you know, I was really entertained by Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson. You know, I think if you put Mike Tyson with anybody who was champion that did not have his same style, he would have knocked him out in 7 or 8 rounds or less. You know, the people that had his style, Rocky Marciano had his style, or he had Marciano's style, and Frazier, you know, fought like that. I don't know what would happen if you put those guys together. I would think that Tyson would win, right? But you never know until you put them together. You know, everybody speculates that, you know, well, if this guy fought this guy, but you never know. I've seen fights where they say, it's going to be really close. Like, for example, when Mike Tyson fought Spinks, Michael Spinks, everybody I knew back then, and a lot of these people were, you know, experts in the game of fighting, boxing, of the sport. They were all saying, well, Mike Tyson, there's no one on the horizon that can beat him, but there is one guy that possibly can, and that would be Michael Spinks. Everybody thought Michael Spinks was capable of beating Mike Tyson because of his awkward style of fighting. It was very awkward. And he was a southpaw. Anyway, when the day came for the fight and they got in the ring, the fight lasted 91 seconds, Mike Tyson knocked him out. And I think mostly because he frightened Michael Spinks. Intimidation, very powerful in a fight. More powerful than ability. You scare somebody, the fight's over before it begins. It happened to Rocky, first Clubber Lang fight. Clubber Lang scared, you know, Rocky, and Rocky lost. So it happens all the time. Jack Dempsey was known for that. There's another great heavyweight, really brutal fighter. Just tough man, you know. They don't make men like that anymore. Very tough. And that's what it's all about. It's less about the skill, but about the tungsten inside of you, the toughness. But yeah, I believe Mike Tyson, you know, would have beaten probably the majority, if not all, of the heavyweights in the past, including Foreman. And Foreman tired easy. People forget, you know, yes, he had a power punch, but he would get tired very fast. That's how Ali beat him. You know, if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for the stamina, he would have knocked out Muhammad Ali in that fight. But Ali, he used the rope-a-dope technique, which I'm not a fan of. It's like beating your brains out to get the other guy tired. You pay a price for that later on in life. But yeah, a lot of power behind that Tyson punch, and he had great head movement, which you don't see that even in UFC. The guys, when they start off boxing you, and then they get you down. When they get you down, you're done. But while you're boxing them, they're not that great at it. Even the top guys, you see them, and they don't have the upper body movement that a boxer has. Equal experience, I'm talking here. They don't have it. They don't have the ability to throw punches in the angles that a good boxer does. But once they get you on the ground and they get that forearm around here, you're done. I don't care how good of a boxer you are. You're not going to get up from that. You're going to be tapping out if you have time to. The referee might see you and you're all, your eyes are rolled back, and he may tap out for you. So, and that's the other thing. The UFC guy can't box as well as a boxer, but a boxer can't, get on the ground and wrestle and choke out a UFC guy. Even if you train with the best, UFC trainers for months and months and months, it's still very difficult to pull off. Very difficult. The UFC guy will get behind you, boom, you're done. And then they extend your arm, bust your arm up, the leg, and you're done. So there's many ways. But if it was a stand-up, man to man, just the fists, the boxer with equal experience, the boxer will win. Will win. Not I wouldn't say 100% of the time, but the majority of the time he will. But get on the ground, no chance. You're done. So yeah, and Rocky Marciano, very, very hard puncher. He may have even had a harder punch than Tyson. If you see some of the videos, the way he hit the bag, I think he might have been a little bit above on the strength department than Tyson was. I know he was on the discipline, with the training. He trained a lot harder than Mike Tyson did. But put them both together in the ring, and who knows? Who knows? You might have to give the advantage to Tyson. I think he had better head movement, but Marciano was not far behind. But I will tell you this: Tyson had more experience. More experience. He had the title with more title defenses. The tram going by. That's the thing. Marciano was great, but he won the title late in life, and he only had a few title defenses. Where if you look at somebody like Larry Holmes, I think Larry Holmes had like 20 title defenses. It's night and day. Night and day. That's why Larry Holmes got so upset when he lost to Michael Spinks the first fight. And he said, because he was going for Rocky's record, 49-0. And he said that Rocky Marciano could not have carried even my jock strap. Because he was angry. He lost, and he lost that fight. I don't want to give the impression that he won that fight. He did not win that fight. He did win the rematch, though, and they robbed him on that. They robbed him. He beat Michael Spinks fair and square. It was obvious to anybody who watched that. Larry Holmes beat him. He beat him. And the judges were blind or corrupt, both, and they gave Michael Spinks the win. And I think a lot of it was in retaliation for the way Larry Holmes talked about Rocky Marciano. I think they said, if you're going to be that way, then you're not going to win the rematch either. But in reality, Larry Holmes won the rematch with Michael Spinks. He won it. That's the way it goes sometimes in boxing. That's why boxing has a bad reputation. A lot of people say, "Oh, the fight was fixed." I don't think these days that happens, especially on the high end. The consequences are brutal if they get you. This is not the 50s anymore, but a lot of people, because they have that mentality, thinking that well, it happened in the past, that it happens now. I don't think it happens now. Of course, there are, we see it all the time in sports where they fix things, but I don't see it in the high, paying categories of boxing that still happens. Just a hint of that, the alarms go off and the investigations start. So, but it is possible. I just don't think it happens. But there are times where you see the decision and the judges are just awful. Now, why does that happen? I don't know. I think it's like perception sometimes. But I don't think it's money exchanging. If it is, guaranteed they're going to get them. They're going to get them. Those kind of things, corruption where they bribe judges. Investigations always uncover the truth on those these days. I'm not talking about in the 40s, 50s, 60s, those years where the mob would step in and fix fights. They never investigated those. They just said, yeah, well, whatever. Nowadays, they open up investigations. Even Congress gets involved. And I'm not saying you can't fool them, but it's a lot harder now. But anyway, the judges sometimes are so off. Sometimes I watch a fight and I'm agreeing with the commentator, and I'm wondering, am I being taken for a ride? Like, in other words, am I listening to them call the fight and I'm agreeing with it because it's their influence on me? I wonder if I watched the fight with the volume off, if I would have the same opinion as the commentators. I think I would. I think I would. Majority of the time, I agree with them. Anyway, that's it for now. We're going to go into Disney World and enjoy the Magic Kingdom today.